Today, my favorite character of Diablo 2 is on the line. Welcome to the mini playthrough of the journey of not a Fishymancer, but a Bone Necromancer.
All who oppose me, beware.
Now the first step to become a not Fishymancer is to, well, become a Fishymancer. There isn't much you can do here. As a Necromancer, you start out with a +1 to raise Skeleton Wand, and quite honestly, the Scully Bro is pretty handy to do early quests like clearing up the den. Once I did level up though, I put a point in my first bone skill, Teeth. Teeth is going to be our main damaging skill till my Necro is high enough to switch to Bone Spear. The good thing with Teeth though is that the more points you put into it, the more teeth you are able to cast, which increases your area of effect since the teeth spread out more, allowing you to hit more monsters with one spell. After clearing up the den, I made my way to the stony field. Interestingly, Rakonishu, as you can see, does a ton of damage with his lightning bolts this early in the game, but I was able to kill him safely. I also got a waypoint right next to the stones, which will be convenient since I'll have to return here for the Cain quest. After saving the old man, I went to hit up the Countess in the Black Marsh. She pretty much is an essential part in the journey of any of my characters because upon dying, she drops runes which, when put in order into specific items, yield rune words which are pretty powerful, as you will see later on. One nice thing with the Necromancer is that once you get some monies, you can go to Akara and buy wands which can have a chance to roll +3 to teeth, which will be a pretty significant boost in damage this early on. With the Necro, I only needed runes for one rune word from the Countess. Stealth. Tal and Eth in an armor gives you 25% faster casting speed, run walk, and hit recovery. Pretty much an essential cheap rune word for any character starting out. The Necro is a pretty powerful character, but he does start out slow, as can be seen from this fight with the Smith. The damage output of Teeth is not on par with something like Fissure from the Druid, but it does get the job done. However, the place the Necro really shines is the later difficulties. You'll see. Now since Teeth is not such an amazing skill, Andariel is the only boss that we're gonna kill using it. Even here, a normal Andariel that you may have otherwise seen melt to death within seconds is pretty dangerous. I had to stand right in her face while fighting her, and in that process I consumed a ton of rejuvenation potions. Then, after a quick visit to town, I was finally able to kill her. Upon reaching Act 2, I went to Drognan to look for a specific wand, and I got it on my first try. +1 to Iron Maiden, the details of which you'll see soon. Another thing that I got when I got to Act 2 was experience. I got to level 17 and started using stealth, and the faster cast rate has improved my damage done per second a little bit. The big damage boost, however, came at level 18. Now I can put a point in and can start using Bone Spear. Even Bone Spear does start out with pretty low damage, and I will switch back and forth with it and Teeth, but as I put more skill points into it, Bone Spear will become a lot stronger. But that's not how I am planning to defeat Duriel. No, this is where the +1 to Iron Maiden wand comes in. You see, what's happening here is Iron Maiden is a Necromancer curse, which basically reflects 200% of the physical damage dealt by the monster. Since Duriel mostly deals physical damage, as you can see, cursing him with the Iron Maiden and spamming clay golems to absorb that damage turns out to be pretty effective. I could have just put a skill point into Iron Maiden myself, but since it is easy enough to buy an Iron Maiden wand from Drognen, I decided against it, and therefore I will have one more skill point to put into Bone Spear and its synergies for pure damage. One more thing I can do to increase my pure Bone Spear damage is to try to craft a +3 to Bone Spear wand. Basically, I purchased super cheap magical wands from Akara, that is, the ones that have a blue base. I put them in a cube with 3 chip gems and morphed. This recipe is basically for converting a magical item to a socketed item with an item level of 25, which allows +3 to Bone Spear wands to be crafted. Even though I had hoarded chip gems through all of Act 1 and 2, I did not get one and just sold all the useless wands for gold. Now, as you can see, now that I have Bone Spears, enemies are dying a lot quicker. I have heard arguments about a lot of people not considering Bone Spear to be an AoE spell, and I disagree. If used correctly, Bone Spear is a beautiful spell that can take out multiple monsters at once and can be used to target a single one as well. Now, Mephisto might think that I'm too late, but I know what's up. Clay Golem and Iron Maiden strats work great on him, except they don't work as well as they do on Duriel. You see, the thing is, Iron Maiden only reflects back physical damage, and not the damage done by Mephisto's charged bolts or frozen orb. This wasn't a problem with Duriel, since basically all the damage he does is his physical attack. That being said, it's still comfortable enough to kill Mephisto with Iron Maiden, just with a couple of annoyances here and there. Normal Izzy was an easy kill as well. You see, unlike the assassin, my attacks are not slowed down by Iswald's cold damage, therefore I can easily stand right in the pocket with him, spamming Bone Spears and kill him without interruption. The 3 lesser evils in the Chaos Sank were a similar story. Bone Spear does a respectable amount of damage to all monsters, since very few of them are resistant to magic. And it better do a lot of damage, because I needed to kill Mr. Big Red Lizard himself. He was pretty scary. So scary to the point where I felt it necessary to use pause buffer to escape one of his attacks, and in the process, I saved and quit. All that progress in the Chaos Sank, and I saved and quit. Well, guess I just have to go through this again. Gosh, I love this game sometimes. And of course, by sometimes, I am referring to the times when I get to kill Diablo. Diablo has a lot of powerful tricks up his sleeve, like Firestorm, his lightning hose, and the circle of flame attack, that fighting him with Iron Maiden and Clay Golem just isn't the most practical thing, at least to me. Bone Spear, albeit leaves you in danger of saving and quitting and going through Chaos Sanctuary again, does do a lot more damage and takes out Diablo faster than any of my other current skills would. Next up were the Ancients, who were easy to take down, but the Lister wave wasn't. They are probably the most tankiest and the most dangerous herd of monsters in normal Diablo 2, and I don't think messing with them is a fun idea, so if you can, just lead them out in peace. Bale, on the other hand, he's another story. The way I killed Bale was by pretty much standing in one place and using auto-aim. Auto-aim? This game has an auto-aim? Yes. You see, the thing in Diablo 2 is that if you lock onto a monster, that is, his name is written on top, you can pretty much just hold down your mouse button from there, and as long as you have that target selected, that is the name tag on the top is there, the game will automatically adjust and aim for you, making fights like the Bale fight, where he likes to teleport around a lot faster and simpler. And that was the end of normal, after which it was time to change everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I respect my character and as usual put the required points into strength and dumped the rest in vitality. Now for skills. I am going to max Bone Spear, but since the monsters in Nightmare will have a lot more health, my main damaging skill will not be Spear, it will be Corpse Explosion. Oh yes, it begins. This is the reason why the Necromancer is my favorite character. Putting points into Corpse Explosion, like I'm doing 10 right here, may seem repulsive and stupid to some because putting points into Corpse Explosion does not increase its damage. It will still do 70 to 120% of the monster's health as fire and physical damage, but it increases the radius of that explosion, and since I will be pretty much using this as my main skill to kill enemies, I think that spending at least 10 points into it is fully justified.
It takes more than a siege to stop me.
Corpse Explosion at this high level, as you can see in Tristram, is really great. I still am using Bone Spear. It is still a very important part of my arsenal, so to speak, but Bone Spear and Corpse Explosion together make for an excellent and fun attack sequence. You know what else is also fun and excellent? 2 to poison and bone skills and 30 faster run walks circlet. Thanks game. I hit up the Countess after saving Cain, and now I'm rocking some pretty okay items, so I guess it is time to show them off. First up is the White Wand, Dole IO. For this wand I purchased a wand with +2 to Bone Spear from normal Drognan and then had Lazark socket it up to get a total of +4 to Bone Spear and +3 to Poison and Bone skills and 20 faster cast rate. It's crazy good. A wand that pretty much all Necromancers use. Next up is the awesome circlet that I just found, which, by the way, if I hadn't, this place would have been taken by the Lore Helmet, which is a rune word, Ort Sol. The jewelry that I have, as you can see, is all 10 faster cast rate. This combined with the 25 FCR that I get from stealth allows me to reach the 75 FCR breakpoint, which means I do a lot of damage very quickly. For my shield, I am just using a standard Ancient's Pledge with 47 all res. The Necromancer does not need Cannot Be Frozen, and he lacks resistances since a lot of his gear is taken up to increase damage output or cast speed. My boots, sash and gloves are quite honestly nothing special at the moment, just some light resistances, to get me out of the minus zone. My damage with Bone Spear is around 500, which is awesome, and my life is 489. I guess one skill that I kind of didn't even talk about till now is Bone Prison. This is actually a pretty active and regular part of my attack. As you can see, it completely traps and immobilizes the enemy, allowing my Necro to sit snugly in between bones and spam Bone Prison or Corpse Explosion till the enemy goes down. Although it may appear to be a defensive ability only at first, it can be super effective against bosses that chase you and, more importantly, don't do high enough damage that it penetrates the Bone Prison, like Diablo's Lightning or Bill's stupid cold V-shaped attack. You know the one I'm talking about. Duriel, however, just gets stuck in it, and my Necromancer can easily stand at a comfortable distance, damaging him with Bone Spear. It really does make him the easiest boss kill of pretty much the entire game. Upon dying, he dropped two interesting rare items. A rare circlet with +2 to traps and chance to cast Nova, and a rare amulet with 10 all resistances. One other interesting drop that I got in Nightmare Flare Dungeon of all places was the first skiller of my life, +1 to War Cries for the Barbarian. It's a useless drop, but it's still cool. But since the RNG gods are in my favor for this period of time, I tried to make the most of the opportunity by imbuing an Unraveler head, and it rolled. Let's try to forget about that. That never happened. So, yeah, where were we? RNG gods in my favor, because if they weren't, I wouldn't have found Tal Rasha's amulet. Oh baby, Tal Rasha's. Totally. Good. No, but I seriously am really mad with the two incidents that happened. And that's not the only reason I am mad. You may have noticed that I am using a different spell to kill Mephisto. This is Bone Spirit, everybody. This is the skill that everyone online tells you is the skill you should use to kill bosses. Unfortunately, it is pretty garbage. For my purposes. You see, the thing is, right now, my Bone Spirit does a teensy more damage than my Bone Spear, but it takes up more mana per hit, it is slower to cast, and most importantly, it eats up valuable skill points that I instead could put into Bone Prison and Bone Wall, which will prepare me better for hell. In short, I tried an experiment and I was not satisfied with the results. If you have different opinions or findings, let me know, but for my purposes, I think I would rather spec out of Bone Spirit as soon as I get the Hell respec. Next up, it was time to do the Hellforge quest in Nightmare. Rune. Oh baby, let's go. Totally gonna get it. Oh my god, I actually got it? What? Okay. Okay. 1 million subscribers. Oh baby, let's go. Totally gonna get it. Guess that only works one time. Well, at least it worked on the one thing that actually matters. This thing. This thing is huge. You know what else is huge? Infector of Souls and Nightmare. And especially if he is fire enchanted, he can actually kill you while going down himself. So I would always recommend not doing what I did right here by not checking his stats and then letting him die super close to me, because that could have ended really bad. Diablo in pretty much any difficulty will not stay inside the Bone Prison, no matter what you do. His firestorm and lightning hose are just too dang powerful. They will just pierce through it in no time. In Nightmare, I did not plan for a comprehensive strategy to beat him or anything fancy. I just tried to dodge his attacks, and when he gave me an opening, fire bone spears till he went down. After this fight, I found myself running low on gold, so I decided to do some lower chorus runs, and in the process, I ended up finding this. +2 to Bone Spear, 9 all-res Necrohead. At the time, I was really not sure whether I should use this or not, because even though I could have put a P diamond in there and got 28 all resistances, my res otherwise weren't looking great either, so I just put this aside for the moment. Next was finally the moment to decide who the better Necromancer was. Me or that cheat Nilathak. And I call him a cheat because he uses corpse explosion on his own minions. That's cheating! I can never imagine doing that to Durga or something, but anyways, one of the better ways to avoid Nilathak's CE is to, well, explode corpses before he does, then snipe him out with Bone Spear. Always works. I mean, to be fair, my Necro is pretty relentless and evil himself. The barbarians always say, "No one shall ever be caged." And what is the first thing that my Necro does when he sees the ancients? He puts them in a prison. To his defense though, it is pretty effective. Ancients, like all melee monsters in Diablo II, are the ones which are worst affected by the bone prison, because they are immobilized, whereas my Necromancer's bone spears can pass right through and damage them continuously. That being said, Korlik and Talik can ruin your stuff pretty bad here. Korlik knows how to leap and can escape the prison easily, and Talik, if he really wants to, can easily whirlwind right through it, making him a pain to kill. But fortunately, none of those things happened here, and now it was time for Bale. But before that, has anybody noticed how the Lister pack is the easiest to kill in Nightmare? I mean, in normal, not a lot of characters can handle them. In Hell, they're pretty much the definition of Hell. But Nightmare Lister is probably the lamest one, and he dies quickly. Works for me. Bale, however, doesn't die so quickly, especially when he likes to tell you how his brothers would not have died in vain. Bale at this stage does do a fair amount of damage, and his appendages are somehow even worse. Hate those things. I mean, if it is any consolation, when Bale finally did die, he died to the better sound effect, which is nice, I guess, and dropped 2 uniques, none of which are particularly useful for my Necromancer, as one may imagine. This is exactly why I do magic find runs.
Treasure hunting? Treasure finding? Yes.
Now this time I had a set method to do them. First, I will be doing a lot of Bale runs, which means I will be killing Bale waves and Bale himself a lot of times, because he can drop every single item that can drop in Nightmare, and more importantly, it is really good for leveling up and gaining experience. While clearing up the throne for one of those runs, unique gauntlets dropped for me. These are Mage Fist and are an excellent piece of equipment for my Necromancer, since they effectively provide 20 faster cast rate and +1 to corpse explosion. Really glad I found these. Other than that, My main goal with these was to reach close to level 70, and then I switched doing bail runs and went to open lower Kurus chests. For these I put the game in Player's 8 mode. You can do this on any copy of Diablo II. It is an inbuilt feature in single player, which lets you emulate up to 8 players in the game so that the drops from the chests of LK are increased. The main reason that I am opening these chests is to mainly get gold, but I wouldn't mind finding something useful in here either, like +1 to necro skills. Very funny game. So anyways, once I get my gold to approximately 1 million, which doesn't really take all that time, I go over to Anya and gamble coronets. Why do you do that, Chinmay? Well, that's because the coronets that you gamble from her have, I would say, a pretty consistent chance of spawning with +3 to a particular skill tree, like this one. +3 to passive and magic skills for the Amazon. This is how I got my +3 to traps coronet last time on my assassin, and therefore hunting at Anya is pretty much a thing that I do while magic finding. Next amazing find was actually my second skiller of my life, +1 to javelin skills for the Amazon. I don't know if my necro has started to look girly or what, but the game seems to be loving to drop these sick Amazon finds for some reason. I thought that until it dropped me an amulet with +2 to poison and bone skills. Alright game, alright, I guess you're cool now. Plus skills with the Necromancers are huge. After I had my fill of Anya gambling and LK running, I put the players back to 1 and fired up Hell. I was making my way to the Countess, and on the way I ended up finding this, Lidless. It is an excellent shield for all casters, +1 to skills, 20 FCR and mana regen, but my argument with my resistances comes to play again. As you can see, my Necromancer is crippled in Hell without this Ancient's Pledge, which is why I think I would give up a little bit of damage for a lot of survivability. I ran the Countess a few times and she just would not drop me an rune, which I desperately seek, so I persisted to the point where a Goat Bro, which was just another elite pack near to the Countess, ended up dropping it for me, before the Countess could. Welcome to Diablo 2, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to finding that rune, my magic find journey was finally over, and now it is time to show you what I've got and go to hell. Like, literally. For my wand, I am still using the white that I built in Nightmare. Probably cannot do better than +7 to Bone Spear, +3 to Corpse Explosion, and 20 FCR. This thing is great. I am using Mage Fist Light Gauntlets for their +1 to Corpse Explosion, which is a fire skill, and 20 FCR as well. This ring, which is super generic, like literally this is the best lightning resistance ring I was able to find in this whole game, and therefore I am using it. My other ring has 10 faster cast rate and 19 cold resistance. With this I have a total of 50 FCR and am above the 48 FCR breakpoint. If you want info about FCR breakpoints, I will leave a card link right here. This guy explains this very well. Back to the amulet, 2 to poison and bone skills, like I said, super awesome. My shark skin belt is actually not as good as I would like it to be. It has some faster hit recovery, strength, and a little fire res, but to think that this was the best belt I was able to find is kinda strange. The boots, however, are pretty unique. 40 faster run walk with 25 fire res, and they are blue, which absolutely blows my mind. I bought these from Nightmare Charcy actually. The shield is Ancient's Pledge. We've talked about this before. Need them resistances to survive. I was unable to gamble a coronet unfortunately, and in the end just gave up. I mean, this circlet is pretty sweet as it is. I put an Ort rune in there for some lightning resistance. And finally, my armor, Bone. +2 to Necromancer skills and 30 all resistances from those runes. The mana roll is actually quite bad. It can go from 100 to 150 I think, but it is still an excellent armor, and I am very thankful that I was able to find the double runes with the Necromancer. Looking at the skills, I have 1 point in amplified damage. This helps in certain cases to increase corpse explosions damage, since it does have a physical element to it. In the summoning tree, I have 1 to Clay Golem. This I only plan to use for 1 fight, you'll see, and the rest are in the Bone and Poison tree. Maxed Bone Spear, 10 points in Corpse Explosion, which with plus skills is up to level 20, which makes me feel really happy inside. Max Bone Prison and Bone Wall, as I use them constantly, and they also increase the life of my bone armor, and the rest of the points I am going to dump into Spirit, since it is also a synergy for Bone Spear. My resistances are okay, with cold and poison obviously lacking. My damage with Bone Spear is near 2k and my life is 933.
Bale, never doubt my skills.
As always, Andariel gets to do the honors in showing you how well my build works. Since my poison resistance was really trash, I did drink a lot of antidote potions before the fight. My strat with Andariel was unchanged. Trap her in the prison. Her poison is not powerful enough to break it before you are able to break her with Bone Spear. Told you that the Necro rocks in the later difficulties, and we're just getting started. Next stop, one of the most dangerous places in the game, Maggot Lair. The Necro breezes through this place. You see, the fact that the Maggot Lair has thin linear corridors actually plays in favor of the Necromancer, because it forces monsters to stack up behind each other, and it is really easy to take them out with piercing bone spears. Not to mention corpse explosion. Everything dies to corpse explosion. I mean, unless it is immune to both fire and physical, in which case it is just stupid. Nobody likes those monsters anyways. The Arcane Sanctuary is a similar story. One group of monsters actually that trouble the Necromancer a lot, which you can see here, are ghosts. They're immune to physical, so they take less damage from corpse explosion, they can fly over bone spears, and they suck your mana once they strike you. Super annoying. Other than that, taking out any other type of monster, easy peasy. And Duriel is one of those other types of monster. Here too, I drank a lot of thawing potions because I was nervous about my cold resistance against Duriel. But Bone Prison absolutely rocks the show here, and Duriel isn't even able to touch me. Except for that one part when he did touch me. But you just spawn more Bone Prison and finish up with Bone Spear. Told ya, easy peasy. The principle of ease and peas carry to Hell Act 3. It is funny how for the Necromancer, the more boss groups there are on the screen, the faster it is to kill them. This actually bundles really nicely because Bone Prison has this ability to lure monsters from even off screen so that they all come and attack it. This allows Corpse Explosion to do major damage, and once the chain begins, there is pretty much no stopping. It is just stupid powerful. Mephisto was a similar story to Duriel and Andariel. Like I mentioned before, because of Bone Prison, there is a chance that while fighting Mephisto to be visited by like a random boss which was off screen to begin with but got lured by it, which can be annoying, but fortunately this Hell Mephisto kill was pretty straightforward. Unfortunately, his two big bros are not going to be, but don't worry about it, I have a special surprise for both of them. But first we say hi to our friend Izzy for the final time. I would like to take this moment and dedicate this completely to how powerful Corpse Explosion is. You can see that I only used Bone Spear in the very beginning to get my first corpse, and after that, especially with amplified damage, everything goes kaput. No exceptions, no remorse, just pure brutality. And I am going to need brutality if I'm going to clear the CS like this. Let the fireworks commence. That, by the way, was Infector of Souls that you saw dying, the tankiest of the 3 bosses in Hell CS. Next up is a fellow Necromancer, Lord Decize. He actually happened to get stuck in a position where dispatching him with Bone Spear was easier, so I followed through with that and used CE to clean up behind him. And then of course it was time for Mr. Floaty Float. Bye bye Floaty Float. I have a date with your boss actually. Hope he likes the gift that I brought him. And the gift is, you guessed it, Clay Golem. But I am not going to be using Iron Maiden against Diablo, no. Instead, the Clay Golem is just a distraction. You see, Diablo loves damaging things as soon as he sees them. And that, therefore, I can exploit that evil nature of his by making him attack my Clay Golem over and over again while I stay on the outside and poke him with Bone Spear. Again, and again, and again, until he finally realizes that I indeed have bested him. But besting Diablo is not going to win us the game. The Ancients still await at the Ariad Summit. The roles of the Ancients that I tried to avoid here were mostly the ones that could get me one-shot killed, like Cursed, or Might Aura, or Cursed Might Aura, you know, the things of that nature. Magic Resistant is another annoying one to look out for, since your damaging spell is going to be magical, Bone Spear. Remember, there are no corpses that you can explode while fighting the Ancients, so fire and physical immunities are worthless for our purposes. Talik, as you can see, went down first. He did do a considerable amount of damage to the Bone Prison and broke a couple of them with the Whirlwind, but finally he got stuck and I sniped him with Bone Spear. Korlik was a pain. I set a Bone Prison and he would leap out of it. Then I set another one and he would leap out of it again. And to make matters worse, he had Mana Burn. But finally, at this point, he either got stuck with Madoc or kind of just gave up, but that is what allowed me to kill 2 Ancients with 1 Bone Spear. Bale, dude, you have no idea what's coming for you. But wait, Chinmay, you forgot about the one boss group that is magic resistant, the second wave. How in the world are you gonna get past these guys? There is no way that you're gonna get past through. Oh, okay, like that. Huh. And I will give you a better one. That is also the way that I am gonna kill the Lister wave as well. That's right, kill the Lister Wave. The first ever character of my mini playthroughs that is going to absolutely obliterate Lister and his buddies. I mean, I guess the fact that they weren't OP and extra fast kinda helped, but come on bruh, the Necro rules, just admit it already. And I mean, if you don't, the final fight is still left, and so is my final surprise. Decrepify. This curse is awesome. This curse rules for boss fights and especially for Baal. You see, Baal, once struck with Decrepify, is pretty much stuck in his position. He is unable to teleport, which gives you plenty of time to easily shoot bone spears at him, making the fight a lot more comfortable and enjoyable. And I guess we're at the part of the game where I give my final speech and close the show and all that fun stuff. Thank you for watching this mini playthrough of the Necromancer. I really like this character. Initially, I was attracted to him because he just kinda looked cool, but playing with him has made him 100 times cooler than he initially was. I had a lot of lucky drops and finds during this playthrough, which I am very thankful for, as they just made the experience of playing and making the video that much more enjoyable. I did not show a death counter this time, but I did die a lot with this character. He does struggle in the early game a little, but once you get to Nightmare and get those hard points in CE, you can pretty much start smoking everything. Overall, I guess I could have definitely worked more efficiently on the video and could have released it a lot sooner, but I guess I have just been lazy in general, which I am hopefully gonna fix by the next mini playthrough. Which, again, as far as I know, is still going to be Diablo 2. I do plan on delving into other games and trying to make them work for this format, but I guess that is a project for a little later. Anyways, thanks again if you've made it this far. Leave a comment if you want to, I guess, and I hope you found this content riveting. Yours truly, with love.